Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana. We're here today with special guest, John Maly, in regards to his new novel, Juris Ex Machina. So have you ever wondered what it would look like if AI ran our judicial system? Well, today's guest is going to dive into just that with his novel. So John Maly is an author, attorney, and futurist. With degrees in computer science, computer engineering, and law, he works in the field of intellectual property, a world every bit as magical and strange as any of his stories. So let's welcome to the show, John Maly.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be on.
Oh my goodness, what an honor it is to have you here and to talk about this. I got to tell you, your book is a page turner. I did not want to put it down. Can you share with us what inspired you to write this?
Sure. So I would say, my fascination with the part of the subject matter, which is artificial intelligence, goes back to college when I was studying computer engineering and psychology. And artificial intelligence has always been sort of the logical combination of those two. So AI ideas kept popping up in both my majors. And then I think I first became truly interested in this area doing my graduate work at Stanford, writing AI programs to play games of strategy against each other and learn from their mistakes and get better and better. So that was a pretty wild experience. And at the time, back then, a lot of these AI concepts were just sort of cool and shiny and fun to program for unconventional tasks. And so it didn't kind of go much further than that. And then I was a computer engineer for several years, and AI was increasingly prevalent, but only in niche applications like, brake controllers in cars for anti-lock brakes and things like that. And then eventually I transitioned into intellectual property law. And every year I've been doing that, AI has gotten more significant and is a bigger share of what I'm asked to do each day. So I had started writing the book back in law school, sort of a false start, just because I got this concept when I was reading an old legal journal article that was assigned for homework from 1959, where this author was positing that you could take any human law and you could phrase it in the form of a logical equation. And having just come off being a computer engineer full time, it seemed like a really obvious thing to automate and computerize. But now that the book's done, I think the future of AI is what fascinates me the most, and it has nearly limitless potential, and also all the psychological factors on how humanity will interact with it. I think it's going to change most aspects of society in some way. And that's going to happen regardless of whether you're excited about that prospect or not. I think there's going to be wondrous things and equally terrible things. And so I think the novel was a way to kind of explore both of those.
Can you share a little bit about your novel with us? We don't want to do any spoiler alerts here because it is a great read.
Thank you. Yeah, so it's a speculative legal thriller set in a not so distant future where technology and the justice system have become totally intertwined. And so AI has replaced human juries. And so there's this teen kleptomaniac hacker who's really just a petty criminal, but he somehow gets falsely convicted of mass murder by a jury that generally doesn't make mistakes because it's AI. And he gets sent off to a strange prison where the inmates are their own guards, and he has to become the first person to ever escape from it. And then he needs to unite with his attorney and figure out who the real culprit is that committed the mass murder and save the city that turned its back on him.
So moving from a human jury to an AI jury, would there be some benefits in doing that? Is there some type of prejudice that humans typically always have when they're dealing with cases?
Yeah, there's a couple that are known in forensic psychology circles. Like one of them is, for example, vivid imagery. So, if an attorney gets up there and kind of presents a very emotional account of what happened, it tends to resonate more with jurors, regardless of whether it's true. And there's other things like if a crime has been committed and the jury's been impaneled, and there's someone sitting at a table in leg irons in an orange jumpsuit, it tends to basically sort of get the juries to presuppose that a crime was committed, and B, that this person is, the most likely, most likely did it. So there's certain things that AI can kind of remove. But I think, a big question when it comes to any AI is what were the biases of whomever programmed it? And so that's an interesting question, right? Because there's certain human, I would say, sort of imperfections in applying the law. Like if someone steals a loaf of bread to feed her family, that's a different crime than someone who's just stealing for fun. And, if we strictly enforce the law, which an AI might be programmed to do, we don't have that empathy programmed into the system. But, the question is, how do we kind of achieve just outcomes in a way that takes away some of the worst outcomes that humans achieve without taking away what having human juries really adds, which is that, sense of compassion and fairness.
So how did you develop this character and this plot twist? I mean, here we have this well-intentioned kleptomaniac who is convicted as a mass murderer, what a unique plot you have for this.
Yeah, it was a long time coming. I had this idea of AI juries that I wanted to explore, and I had this idea of kind of this scofflaw who was just kind of going around stealing things because it was, kept his life interesting because he was bored otherwise. And it really didn't take off until I really started diving into the material and diving into AI and the justice system in prisons. And then there was this other dimension that was going on, which is I was trying to start each major section of the book with a little legal anthropology excerpt that was like a paragraph long and talked about everything from the Salem witch trials to Cherokee divorce law to Ashanti tort law to all these different systems of human justice throughout the ages. And what was interesting is reading those books and seeing that there were these themes that kept recurring in justice systems and realizing that those are likely to recur just as readily with an AI run justice system as well.
Well, there's a very good point there. Because I think a lot of times when people think about technology, they look at it as like it's going to make things not only easier, but run more efficiently. And will that really happen with a judicial system?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're certainly going to get more efficiency, and this is something that's one of the themes that kind of came out as I was doing all this research is that the justice system is about two things. It's about nominally about justice, but it's much more about the system and sort of how the procedural rules are written and how we kind of advance things along. No, I don't think any justice system delivers anything close to perfect justice. The best it seems to be able to offer in its current embodiment is this idea that we've got some predictability. So, if you get into a contract dispute with somebody, you guys can each talk to your attorneys and you can come up with a pretty good sense of how it's going to turn out without even having to litigate it. And so that systemic aspect of the justice system is really important and often gets emphasized to the exclusion of the justice side of things. So I think it will be efficient. As to whether it's fair is something we need to really keep in mind, especially as the temptation grows larger and larger to computerize this and put AIs in charge of it.
Well, on that note, we're going to pause here for a quick break. We've been speaking with John Maly in regards to his new novel, Juris Ex Machina. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne. We'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors.
Are you an author, speaker, or expert who is looking for more publicity? Visit radioguestlist.com and sign up for free interview requests from shows looking for guests. Radio Guest List is the #1 free booking resource for radio, podcasts, and TV talk shows who are looking for experts like you right now. Visit radioguestlist.com and sign up today to get the visibility you deserve.
There comes a moment when you realize you're somewhere special. When you discover that each beautiful creature that you see has been rescued from a life of absolute horror and brought to this incredibly free place. Here's where their lives were forever changed and where yours will as well. Discover over 500 tigers, bears, and lions at the brand new visitor center at the Wild Animal Sanctuary just outside Denver. For more information, visit wildanimalsanctuary.org. Discover true freedom at the Wild Animal Sanctuary.
It's one thing to become attached to your perfect home, but What do you do when that home becomes attached to you? A family in dire need of a fresh start. A mysterious house tied to the past. Buried deep within the foundation of the old Far Hill Manor lies a centuries-old secret. Dark forces or something stronger just waiting to be discovered. Caretaker, a supernatural thriller by breakout authors R.J. Halpert.
Internationally recognized and award-winning author Judy Goodman works and teaches outside the box of limited thinking. Working with people from every walk of life, her goal is to empower you to be the best you can be, no matter what the challenge is. Born with the gift of seeing beyond our normal vision, she has an extraordinary gift of working with every challenge. Teaching beyond conventional wisdom, her work is described as life-changing. Visit judygoodman.com. That's judygoodman.com.
I'd like to thank Jason Eastwood at Guitarfulness for sharing his inspiring music and talent with us. His music is known worldwide for cultivating atmospheres of harmony, inner peace, and clarity. Visit Jason's website at guitarfulness.com. Join his newsletter, be part of his community, and download his music. Welcome back to Moments with Marianne. We're here today with special guest, John Maly, in regards to his new novel, Juris Ex Machina. Well, let's talk about the prison, Witchwood, for a moment. I mean, I know you were saying that this is run by the inmates. So what is the relationship between the inmates and the guards there?
So yeah, this goes back to some of the research I did. There's a prison just north of Lima in Peru that's called Lurigancho Prison. And it's slightly less like this now, but there was a time when the inmates were their own guards. So you would have a key to your cell, and the reason you would have a key to your cell is so you could lock up your possessions when you went off to lunch and whatnot. And the prisoners were organized into these pavilions of different groups. And so some of those groups were put together because of, they committed similar crimes or they had similar cultural backgrounds. But you really did need to fall in with a group, where they could watch each other's backs. And then there was also this, strange setup where they were only given minimal resources. And so you really needed to provide for yourself in some way. So if you were a particularly wealthy inmate, you could get money from the outside and, maybe your family would bring by gifts. But if you were on your own, you needed to have like a trade. So there were businesses in this prison. There was, a prison restaurant and a prison barber, and all these people, required money for their services. So it was sort of interesting to see in what ways people who are sort of inherently bad at impulse control, and following rules manage to set up some inviolable rules, like you never fall asleep on guard duty, for instance, when you're guarding your pavilion. And in other ways where they were really bad at it, and there would just be these sort of needless brawls and strife. And that was an interesting thing to explore as well. So that was another really fun, from a legal and psychological standpoint, a really fun area of research.
Why do you think this book is great for the holidays? I mean, I know it's great, but why do you think it's great?
Well, so I think that AI is sort of a nebulous concept. And part of that is because it's being introduced everywhere at once in all these different areas. And it's not being introduced in the way that we kind of grew up thinking it would be. Like you hear about, AI becomes super smart and just sort of takes over the world. It's really not that unified. Every AI that's out there is programmed for a very different and probably quite narrow task. And in contrast to that, it's getting sort of unleashed on us in all these different narrow areas, and it remains this broad and nebulous and kind of scary topic. I think the media is where a lot of us learn about kind of the latest developments because they're moving so fast. That's just how it's been working. So this book is not about scare tactics. It's we kind of have some fun. We dive in and explore it. And I think it's a great way over the holidays to let your mind explore more than just a broad stroke of AI and think about some specific facet of it. And this is all in the context of a legal thriller story.
Do you think it's possible that they'll use AI in the legal system?
Yeah, I think it's quite likely. I think that, the burden for when AIs will replace humans in different roles will come down to accuracy. And the sad thing is that humans don't make necessarily great judges of these things. Another logical fallacy is eyewitness testimony. Eyewitness testimony, it turns out, if you look at the different forensic psychology studies, an eyewitness's confidence in identifying a suspect is not at all correlated with accuracy. So it's just as likely that the person who saw someone in bad lighting and isn't very sure of themselves is identifying the right person as the person that is 100% certain that that's the person they saw is incorrect. So things like that, I think, will be the kind of edge that AI can provide. The real question is, what sensibility are we going to program it with? Because AI can try to simulate human jurors. It could be trained on just a lot of different cases. It could try to, if we had legal scholars and ethicists sit down and say, okay, what are 1,000 cases that really just absolutely define correct outcomes regardless of the letter of the law? Like, we should train the AIs on these things.
Well, John, I felt your book was just a great read. Where can our listeners connect with you and be part of your community and learn more about your work?
Sure. Well, the book again is called Juris Ex Machina. I have a website at John Maly, that's JOHNMALY.com. And then Juris Ex Machina, the book, is available through Amazon and through Barnes & Noble and Apple Books and all the other different sellers. It can also be ordered at your local independent bookstore or your local library. So that's what I recommend. And then I'm on all the different varieties of social media as well.
Well, John, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Thanks for having me. It's been great.
Well, thank you, John. It's been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about your hot new novel, Juris Ex Machina. Juris Ex Machina is available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and everywhere books are sold. And remember, support our indie bookstores. If you don't see it on the shelf, just ask for them to order it. Make sure to join John's website and be part of his community at John Maly. That's John, MALY.com. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.